right to take agenda items out of order. Items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time, and items may be combined for consideration. Members of the public may provide public comment in person or in writing via email. Public comment will be accepted via email during the duration of the meeting and shared with council members during the appropriate agenda items. Public comment may be emailed to rick.derry, DERRY, at doe.mv.gov. A link to the email is provided in the posted agenda. Members of the public are asked to indicate in the email subject line whether the comment is for public comment number 1 or public comment number 2. Public comment number 1 is limited to any item appearing on the agenda. No action may be taken on a matter discussed at this time until the matter is included as an agenda item on which action may be taken. Public comment number 2 is limited to any matter within the jurisdiction of the council control or advisory power. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Again, as a few notes, as most of us are virtual, please remember to keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. You may click the raised hand button to indicate that you would like to speak. NDE will also be helping to monitor the raising of hands. Please remember, this is something I always forget. Please remember to state your name for the record, allow extra time to be heard and or recognized due to possible delays. And so at this time, I would like to call this meeting to order. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rebecca Dirks Garcia for the record, and I call this meeting of the Advisory Council for Family Engagement to order at 4:09 p.m. Will Rick please call the roll?
Good afternoon, council members. Starting with you, Chair Rebecca Dirks Garcia.
Here.
Vice Chair Tamika Henry. I'm sorry, was that a yes? Member Anna Marie Binder.
Just for a point of order, the vice chair is Ms. Binder, not Ms. Henry.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Vice Chair Anna Marie Binder.
Present. Thank you.
Member Cecilia Gonzalez. Member Tom Hendricks. Member Brandy Johnson.
Here.
Member Dewana Malone.
I'm present. All
right, thank you. Member Dina Neal. Member Michael Roth.
I'm here.
Member Delfina Martinez.
Here.
Member Brenda Zamora.
Here.
With all 7 members present, Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you so much. And I would also like to note, I don't see, do we have anybody from the AG's office joining us?
Hi, this is Christina Jorgis Burns, Deputy Attorney General.
I apologize. I saw you on the screen and I didn't realize who the switch out was for. So thank you so much for joining us and being in attendance with us today virtually. And at this time, I'd ask that we please stand.
Also,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I heard my name, but as vice chair, but Tamika Henry is present.
Thank you so much, Tamika. I have you here.
I think the unmute didn't want to work at the time that it was getting called initially. The joy of virtual, right? So at this time, I would ask that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I think we have a virtual flag, potentially, that we can even look at. So with that, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we begin today's meeting, we would also like to acknowledge the Indigenous people whose traditional homelands where we are presenting from and where people are joining us from in what is now the state of Nevada, the Newmont, also known as the Northern Paiute, the Nuwu, the Southern Paiute, the Washishu, the Washoe, the Niwi, and who are the Western Shoshone. As a reminder, the council reserves the right to take agenda items out of the posted order. Items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time, and items may be combined for consideration. We have a quorum now, but should we encounter any issues with quorum, we will also consider action items first. I'm not aware at this time of needing to change that, but if we do, we will let everybody know. With that, we will now go on to public comment period number 1. During this agenda item, public comments will be taken regarding any item appearing on the agenda. As a reminder, no action may be taken on matters discussed under this item until the matter is included on an agenda item on which action may be taken. The time is limited to 3 minutes. At the end of the meeting, as mentioned and as posted on the agenda, there will be a public comment period available for any matter within the Advisory Council's jurisdiction, control, or advisory power. We will start with if there's any public comment in Carson City.
There are no public comments in Carson City.
Thank you so much. Rick, is there any public comment in Las Vegas?
There's no current public comment here in Las Vegas.
Thank you. Was there any submitted electronically?
There are no
Hi,
public comments submitted electronically.
Thank you so much.
available to take your call.
We will then move on to agenda item 3, which is the review of meeting minutes from our prior meeting, which was March 11th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the March meeting minutes?
Member Binder, for the record, I make a motion to approve our March 11th, 2025 minutes as presented.
Thank you, Vice Chair Binder. Is there a second?
Member Brandy Johnson, I second.
Thank you, Member Johnson. I have a motion by Vice Chair Binder with a second by Member Johnson. Those in favor of approving the minutes, please unmute and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes are passed. Our next agenda item is item number 4, which is an update from the Family Engagement Office. And for this, I will turn the time over to Annabelle from the Nevada Department of Education.
Thank you, Chair Dirks Garcia. Annabelle Sanchez, Education Programs Professional for Family Engagement, NDE for the record. Before providing you with the updates, I just want to make sure that Member Hendricks was struggling to get into the meeting. Was he able to join? If he's able to unmute to show that he is in attendance. Oh, seems we may have lost him. Okay, we'll keep trying. Thanks. All right, so some updates for you guys. The Family Engagement Summit already occurred and we had some pretty good feedback. September 13th, it was held in Las Vegas, and September 20th in Carson City. We offered 36 sessions in Las Vegas with about 200 attendees. Those attendees included families and educators and community members. In Carson City, we offered 14 sessions with about 50 attendees, also educators and families. The successes included the offering of interpretation services, which removed a lot of the language barriers And we also had partnerships with other NDE offices, with other school districts, and the Charter School Authority. Added successes would be we changed things up a little bit. In the past, there had been keynotes, and this time around, we did open discussion panels geared towards PIFE experiences in the classroom, and we also held resource fairs. Down south, there were over 40 organizations for families, and those organizations provided resources that the families felt were very useful. It was well received by the attendees. In the future, the PIFE office would like to include a virtual option that would allow all counties to attend, and we're looking into hosting it in a more centralized venue. We plan to publicize the event well ahead of time, and when planning to schedule, keep in mind the scheduling of the date so that it does not overlap with school events and cultural celebrations. If any of the council members attended either of the summits and would like to share their experience, I invite you to please unmute and share at this time.
Chair Garcia Dirks, I would love to jump in and share a little bit, if that's okay with you.
Go right ahead, Member Zamora.
This is Brenda Zamora for the record. I did attend the Family Engagement Summit at the school that we were at. I actually participated as a parent. I have middle school children, and it was a really great event to participate in. I was not wearing my member hat at this moment. I would like to give a lot of kudos to the team who put it all together, because it was intentional, especially the way it was broken down with the age groups, which I really appreciated. And I think at the same time, some of the topics that were discussed were very much on track with what's going on, the moment that we're in. And I will share, for example, we did like social media threads for younger kids that was directly for the ages of 12 and up, and it was intentional. It was a great conversation. There was a lot of great educators in the room as well, but I wish we could have had more parents in the room. And I do have a question. I don't know if it's time for questions now, or if you would just want feedback questions, okay? Is what kind of role can council members take in this? Because I got this flyer through my CCSD capacity as a trustee, and I would have loved to see, maybe as a council member, have this flyer, some kind of being part of the planning as well, seeing how we can, reach out to our own folks, our own community members, our own district, and even just through my day-to-day job, pulling in some community, support, because I think they could have brought in parents as well, because it was great. I bragged about it on social media after so much, and I tried sharing it on my socials as well. But I think getting the people in the room will make a huge difference, because it was great information. So just kind of seeing what our role can be moving forward to get the participation in.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Member Zamora. And this is Annabelle Sanchez, NDE for the record. Yes, I believe that it's going to be mentioned in the updates. We are going to plan on having some PIFE office hours coming up. And I think that's a great opportunity for you guys as council members to also take some input back with you. And the planning ahead, that's also why we're doing that, because we want to allow for a lot of time for you guys to help us promote this event, and hopefully work collaboratively with you on what is going to be part of that. And I think that's a great opportunity. That's a great question. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And I have no further questions, Chair.
Thank you. Did anybody else want to chime in? Anna, Member Binder, and then Member Henry.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much, Member Binder, for the record. So I was only able to attend the opening panel, but it was really great. And you guys had such a diverse stage filled with educators, parents, and it was so awesome. I wish I could have stayed all day. I did have a scheduling conflict with the DD council, or otherwise I would have stayed. But in my review of the flyer and everything for the activities that day, I left really bummed that I could not stay for some of those breakouts. And like member Zamora said, I mean, like, I think I did my best on my social media to once NDE published it, to keep pushing it out and making sure people knew about it. But I think we're going to have a little better luck next year with a little more appropriate planning. And then I don't know where I heard this. It might have been back in March, but Annabelle, I believe, is there a steering committee for this? So if members want to be a little more, if they have time to be a little more directly involved in planning for next year, I remember hearing about it, but it's skipping my mind exactly where.
Annabelle Sanchez ND, for the record, you are correct, Vice Chair Binder. We do have a steering committee, and because it was our first time, or my first time organizing it, I mostly included offices within NDE, but reaching out to the council and to see which members would like to be part of the steering committee would also be a great idea. Thank you for that.
Member Henry?
Thank you so much, Member Henry. For the record, I did have the opportunity to attend as well. I felt that it was great breakout sessions, great sessions for families and educators and community members. And I really do wish that it was more well attended. I mean, we tried to push it as much as we could on our social medias. But I know with more notice, we'll be able to get it out to more people within the community. But I mean, every session that I attended, I was like, wow, I wish I had more of this when I had children in the district, you know? I love that it was diverse offerings and there were hands-on experiences for children and their families. And so I want to give kudos to the planning committee and everyone that was involved with the planning. And there was plenty of food and snacks. And I mean, you really had everything covered. And so I just want more families to have the opportunity to for this quality offering. So thank you.
Thank you, members. I was able to actually attend, Chair Dirks Garcia, for the record. I was actually able to attend both in the North and the South. And I would echo the comments that the offerings were really robust and I think very relevant topics. I was very impressed with the different options offered. There's a lot of really good information there. Would just kind of echo the same comments. I think this was the first time bringing it back in person after several years. So I think, especially for the first time back, that's always, you got to get it just launched and going again, right? And so I think there's a lot of great things to celebrate with that. But would agree that involving families in the planning and community organizations so that they can be able to share more of that out early, and then also maybe provide feedback on some of the decisions. I would also absolutely agree on the location here in Vegas. I mean, I know I live on the east side, so I'm not close to anything. But at the same time, it was like, it was a haul. And it's not very well situated on bus routes and things like that. So I think that would be one of my comments, that I also like to be really mindful that not only is it more central, but that it's easier for families who maybe struggle with having their own transportation to be able to get there. Same way with like up north, maybe I love Carson's space, but maybe Reno would get a larger response. But again, I think overall, especially the workshop topics and such, I wasn't able to stay the whole day at either, unfortunately, but I think the topics were really intentionally chosen and wish that more families especially had had a chance to take those. And I liked also that you designated the who the audience was for them, because I think that can be confusing sometimes. And so I think that was a helpful aspect, and would absolutely hope to see that again so that people know which one. And maybe also making the ones that are for families a little bit more compact so that it's easier for them to say, okay, I need to be there for 2 hours on Saturday morning versus kind of trying to figure out when to pick and choose, especially because unless I missed it, there wasn't an agenda out like in advance with details. And so, if you only have 2 hours to come and the topics you wanted have already happened or are happening other times, I think that's hard. So the more we can get out to people in advance, they can kind of select what they want to attend, I think, and also just see what the options are so that it encourages them to attend, I think would be helpful as well. But overall, I think it was really well produced in the topics and the flow. So thank you
Chair.
for that.
Chair, if I may add, this is Member Zamora.
Go ahead.
I would like to also share, and I'm thinking, my wheels are turning. Maybe even see if we can pull people from this past one as like kind of testimonies to promote the next one that we might have coming up. Because I will share, my kids went home with Play-Doh, Legos, and a whole bunch of fun things. Like they made their own skee ball machine, and through the STEM, work breakout session we had. So I think even seeing if we're able to pull in like their testimonies, their experience for the next one, because it was really good. We just need more families in.
Great suggestion, Member Zamora. Anybody else have comments to provide? Otherwise, seeing none, I'll hand it back over to you, Annabelle.
Annabelle Sanchez, NDE, for the record, and thank you for that feedback. I believe that everything said is true, and I look forward to working with the council on the next planning session. We do plan to start planning as early as before the end of next year. And my other update is the Family Engagement Guide, which has been updated. It is located in the PIFE website page and is posted in both English and Spanish. A digital web version of the guide is being designed. This will take some time to build, as the guide will have over 40 interconnected web pages that have to be submitted by request each individually for easier access. That's only to make the website layout as accessible as possible. My other update is the PIFE office is planning to host office hours for PIFE representatives across the state. We are updating our PIFE contact list. There's only one school district that we are waiting to hear back from. They are working on who the PIFE representative for their school district would be. And once we have all the representatives, I will let them know that I will send out an availability survey similar to the one I sent to you, and hope to meet with them once a month starting next year. The meetings will focus on sharing best practices and statewide collaboration to address PIFE challenges across the state and within their school districts. And thank you. This concludes the PIFE office updates. I am available for questions. And I would like to state that Member Hendricks is here and able to attend, for the record.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record, thank you so much. Are there any questions for Annabelle Sanchez? She's up next too, so she's not going anywhere, just on this agenda item.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Hearing none, we'll close that agenda item and move on to agenda item number 5, which is information, discussion, and possible action regarding the 2025 legislative session. And as I just mentioned, Annabelle Sanchez from NDE is again presenting for us on this item.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Annabelle Sanchez, NDE, for the record. This past legislative session included multiple bills with family engagement elements. Based on our previous meeting, Senate Bill 78 proposed changes of members for various councils, including this council, but it did not pass. Senate Bill 199, which would have required the Superintendent of Public Instruction to establish a work group on the use of artificial intelligence systems in education, among other requirements, also did not pass. Senate Bill 331, which made reference to the promotion of involvement of parents and families in school programs that support pupils, did not pass. The bill that did pass is Senate Bill 460, which requires schools to gather input from parents or guardians when improving the school improvement plans. This is found under Section 9.3, Number 4, subsection B1 of the bill. And thank you. This concludes the 2025 legislative updates. I am available for questions.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia for the record. Thank you so much. Are there any questions from members? Vice Chair Binder.
Thank you so much, Member Binder. Do we know, because like you, Chair Dirks Garcia, I'm involved with my SOT. So does SB 460 have like a new outline for how our local precincts are supposed to solicit that feedback from the parents, or is it a district-wide effort? I would think it would be the precinct level, but
Annabelle Sanchez, are you aware of that? I'm not sure in that section if it did specify any carve out for Clark County, which is the only district that has school organizational teams at this point.
Oh, we can provide that information for you at a later time. As of right now, it just says that in that particular section that the superintendent has if the superintendent designates an underperforming school district or a sponsor of a school district, that is when that would be applicable.
So it's specific to Rebecca Dirks Garcia for the record. It's specific to districts or schools, because the slide says school, but what you just said was district. So which does it apply to, or is it both? As I quiz you on a 100-page bill. I know we're looking at one tiny section, but it is a massive bill.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, it clearly does say school districts. I can I would like to address that it is school districts.
Okay. Thank you for the Rebecca Dirks Garcia. Thank you for that clarification. Did that help at all, Member Binder?
yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And Annabelle, if Member Binder for the record, if you could just kind of put that like on a side note to make sure that if NDE is getting any further guidance on that, if you could let this council know if it's anything more detail oriented than just a school district, that would be so appreciated.
Annabelle Sanchez for the record. I am making note of that right now. Thank you.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia for the record as well. Annabelle Sanchez, sorry, I always call you Annabelle. Ms. Sanchez and I had this conversation briefly as well, that within 460 includes reference to the creation of those district standards, which I'm guessing this is linked with the creation of the district accountability process that'll be new. And then also it references the Commission on Innovation and Excellence. I sit on both that commission and then also on the subcommittee that is looking at the district accountability portion and then the school accountability portion of things. which includes more than just people who are sitting on the larger commission. But one of the comments that I had is related to 460 and other things, is that it might be helpful for a future agenda item. So at the end, when we discuss future agenda items, to potentially have some information on those, on that work for this advisory council, so that folks are aware of what's happening and can take that back to their stakeholder groups. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close out that agenda item and move on to agenda item number 6, which is information, discussion, and possible action regarding the Advisory Council for Family Engagement's legislative report. So every year, we are required to create a report and submit it. Because we are sometimes challenged to get quorum in order to meet as many times a year as we would like, it does sometimes feel like we hit this agenda item frequently. But appreciate Annabelle Sanchez and the team at NDE drafting this for our review, and I will hand it over to you to give an introduction to our discussion regarding this.
Thank you, Chair. Annabelle Sanchez, NDE for the record. That is correct. This is per NRS 385.620, 385.620. And the 2026 legislative report draft was included as part of the meeting materials. I trust that members had an opportunity to review the report prior to this meeting. I just want to clarify that the text in black is already included in the report and it can be modified if needed. New information to be added in the report is in the red text. The process is as follows. The council can make recommendations, which the department will note. A representative from the Deputy Attorney General's office, who you met earlier, is present and can clarify the content within the council's purview to be added. After a recommendation is made, the council may vote on each section or vote on the whole report once all recommendations are made. Only recommendations accepted by the council will be added to the report. The council will then vote to submit the 2026 report to the Legislative Commission. I will now refer to the report on the screen. We are using the spreadsheet up on the screen to keep track of the recommendations already there. As I mentioned, the text in black is already included. We can make changes to current recommendations or add new recommendations. And the text in red will be any new language to be considered. On page 3, you will find section 10, recommendations for legislation. We are keeping current language as stated. My question to the council is, would you like to keep these recommendations, change these recommendations, or add a new recommendation?
Again, feel free to raise your hand using the tools online to be called on. Seeing none, I think we can go to the next section.
All right, Annabelle Sanchez, NDE for the record. Section 1 is the policy review. And as stated, we are keeping this recommendation unless there's any changes or new recommendations.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia. Not a change, but I do think that we need to make a note that we tried to get this launched and it didn't. And so I think we need to revisit who's interested in participating and actually move forward with scheduling meetings.
Madam Chair, Member Binder, is that for section 1 for the work group?
Yes, correct.
And Chair Dirks Garcia, would you mind repeating what you stated?
Rebecca Dirks Garcia. So my comment is that that work group was discussed. Members raised their hand to participate in it, but then it never got off the ground. So I think we need to make a note to revisit in our future agenda section that we want that on an agenda to see who's still interested in participating and then actually move forward in getting the work group scheduled. Does that make sense? So it's listed as accurate. In 2024, this was what we intended to do, but then it never actually came to fruition.
And definitely, I do want to mention that just in case we don't fully note everything, I always go back to review the video before I create the final draft. So yes, and I believe someone else had something to say. Go ahead.
This is member Dr. Roth for the record. Just a question. Are we talking about all the different numbers here or just the first box?
Thank you, Member Roth. Annabelle Sanchez Indeed for the record. We are just talking about the first box listed there that says policy review in column B.
Thank you.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, to clarify, I think we're going to go by each section where there's a description, correct? So there might be multiple recommendations, but we'll go by description. What is listed as a separate description? Correct me if I'm wrong, Annabelle.
That is correct.
Okay. Hearing or seeing no others? Sorry, I have to sort through. Of course, my second monitor failed like this week, so I'm having to sort through the list of names to see if anybody's got their hand raised. I don't see any. So I think we can move on to district accountability reports.
Perfect. Please let me know on district accountability reports if you'd like any changes to the current recommendation or any new recommendations. And I do see a hand from Vice Chair Binder. Go ahead.
Thank you, Member Binder. Annabelle, if you scroll down below 4, I think in section 5, I had a recommended change, but I don't know if it's in this section or the next one because your spreadsheet is ending at 4 there.
I think we just haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay.
Is it the one? Yes, we just haven't gotten
okay.
to that section.
Gotcha. Okay, no worries. I'll wait.
No problem.
So we're on the district accountability report. Does anybody have any further items on this? Okay. Hearing none, I think we can move on to reviewing Nevada's best practices. So again, Black, and I know this is a little bit awkward reviewing this report virtually as a big group, but we have to because it's coming from the council and doing it in an open meeting. But as Annabelle said, the Black is pre-existing. The red is potentially new language. That doesn't mean we can't change or edit either, but just for information. And then, so we'll go through this one, reviewing Nevada's best practices, and then move on to the next one after. Any comments on reviewing best practices? Dr. Roth.
Hi, this is Dr. Roth for the record. In the second recommendation that's in red, it looks like that would be an invitation to this meeting to share exemplars. And although I like that idea, I'd like to expand it a little and have the state look at creating an event that invites exemplary examples to come together and celebrate kind of in an evening together where we can learn from each other, but also provide recognition to that school or district formally that the state recognizes these exemplary practices for 2026. I think it could provide honor to hardworking schools and individuals, but it could also share to scale ideas that people have found to be successful.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you so much, Member Roth, for that suggestion. I love the idea of an event or something like that. I think the way Annabelle has captured it is to be compliant with what we're allowed to recommend. So it would be that we're recommending that Annabelle, you put the PIFE office. I would maybe recommend that it is a recommendation to the State Board of Ed, because it seems more that that would be what districts would be excited to hear or participate in, rather than something coming from a department. Not that we don't appreciate all the great work your department does. But so that would be how I would think it would be best captured, is if there's a way that we can make a recommendation for the Nevada the Nevada Board of Education to consider an event and recognition process for districts in their family engagement work.
I would like to, this is Annabelle Sanchez and the E for the record. I would like to check with our representative from the DAG's office just to make sure that that is a recommendation that would be able to include in this report, that we can include.
Thank you. This is Christina Jorges Burns, Deputy Attorney General for the record. And I am currently looking into that because the statute and the advisory council is focused primarily on working with the Office of Parental Involvement and Family Engagement. So that is a good flag. And unfortunately, I don't have an exact answer for you right now. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. Hopefully I can get an answer to you very soon, though.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you for that input. To clarify, the recommendation could go to PIFE if it can't go to NDE and to the Board of Ed, correct? Is what you're
Correct.
assuming?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So if the members are, and actually let me back up for a second. I'd love to get some feedback from the members if we want to vote on any new additions individually, or if folks feel comfortable doing that at the end as a whole. And then I see your hand, Member Binder. Do folks have any strong preference on voting each time we make a change or correction, or waiting and we can do it at the end? Okay, I would favor doing it at the end so we don't have to vote on each item individually unless people object to that. Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. I'm hearing no objection, so we'll move on and go that way and vote at the end. Member Binder.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Member Binder for the record. So my only suggestion in that paragraph, while the DAG is looking into that for us, is I would add So we can always swap out the word recommend with like non-regulatory words like we've observed, right? Like I pulled together like a bunch of words because some of my suggested changes in the next sections kind of go along these lines. Um, could greatly benefit from. So instead of recommend, the word like we can broaden the adjective of what we're trying to do there. I'm not sold on the word recommend um, because we want to be, if we have to be non-regulatory and stay in our clear advisory hats.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia. Thank you, Member Binder. I appreciate your comments, and I think for some we definitely will need to pick different language at different times. I would think that this one, it's probably, in my opinion, it would be best to stay with recommend, and we just pick the appropriate end user that we're recommending to, based on what that feedback is, which we can actually still adopt this with that either or, and because as we've done this report in the past, we know that we can adopt it with some flexibility if members are okay with that. I think there's other times that changing the word recommend probably will make a big difference. But in my opinion, we would just adapt it based on who the recommendation goes to, unless others don't want to use the word recommend.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, Member Binder. I just want to make sure that we're flexible enough where this doesn't get, we don't catch like a snafu or something and get held up with it.
Appreciate that. Okay, anything else on reviewing Nevada's best practices? Seeing nothing, then let's go on to the next item, which is reviewing out-of-state best practices. So we're on the bottom of page 4, if anyone's following along with a paper copy like I am.
This is Annabelle Sanchez Andy. For the record, I believe Dr. Roth has a question.
This is Dr. Roth for the record. Being one of my first meetings with you all, I'm clicking my hand raise and waiting to be called, but if it's better for me just to speak out, let me know. But I'm trying to follow the patterns I'm seeing. My comment is on reviewing out-of-state best practices. The suggestion I made in the previous section came from being in the state of Colorado. When I was a principal there, our school won the 2016 Colorado Family and Community Engagement Award, and we were invited to a celebration, and schools throughout the state were also invited, and we were able to go and like have a display of the idea that we had, but we also got to see all the ideas that were there from all the other schools that were being honored. And I just remember what that did for our community and how that event was received. And so I don't know if this is actually a recommendation as much as an endorsement, or this idea is so wonderful to be learning from other states and seeing how it's helping build family engagement, and sort of to give you a little context for the last recommendation that I gave.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia. Thank you, Dr. Roth. And if I don't see you right away, feel free to come off mute and just say hey, because I am trying to scroll through the names and see what's on the screen. So I apologize. And Annabelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that that would be a really good future agenda item versus this is more of a look back on the report versus a future. And so I would suggest that we, and I'm making a note, out of state best practices, that we look at maybe the recognition system or process or award system in other states regarding family and community engagement, and maybe kind of a review of that to look at that as a review of out-of-state best practices for a future agenda item. Annabelle, would you agree that sorry, you're getting ready to
Yes,
answer me?
no, it's okay. Annabelle Sanchez indeed for the record. And yes, I do agree. That would be a great recommendation. And I believe that once it actually starts going and we are looking into out-of-state practices and the council has actively been demonstrating that's after we've done that, then we can add it to the report in the section, is my understanding. Thank you, Dr. Roth.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, I really like that idea, and I've made a note, but Annabelle's better at keeping track of those than I am, to be quite frank. So, but I made my own. Seeing no other comments on reviewing out-of-state best practices, then I would have us move on to identifying effective communication and outreach for families who have limited time to get involved. Ooh, that's a mouthful. And this one does have a potential new recommendation listed. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Annabelle or Member Binder.
I would refer Member Binder in that recommendation, since I know it is something that she did inquire about with me. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and Annabelle. And so it just kind of goes along the lines of just adding some choice words in there so it doesn't make it look like we're directing anything. And so I'm going to start right here at section 504. We know what that does. Sorry, I'm trying to just for Annabelle. And I'm gonna just say what I put together out loud, and Annabelle, I can, because I don't expect to take the time of the council for you to type all of this. But I would add in fulfilling its duty under NRS 385-625 to identify methods of effective communication and family outreach. The council observed that many families benefit when information related to rights, supports, and available pathways, including Section 504, is presented in clear, accessible formats. The council notes that strategies grounded in universal design principles may improve clarity and understanding for families with limited time to engage. This remains an area the council will continue to explore in collaboration with districts and the department. That was just kind of how I rewrote it to make it DAG friendly and suggestive instead of directive.
Annabelle Sanchez, ND for the record. And oh, yes, I do want to invite our representative from the DAG's office to clarify what we would need to do to see what is in the purview of the council to add for what was suggested. Hopefully we can work together to make it happen. Go ahead.
Christina Jorges Burns, Deputy Attorney General for the record. Thank you, Annabelle and Vice Chair Binder. I think your revisions do speak to our concerns. So the kind of on a our broader concern was that the report is to report the activities and then any legislative recommendations. And so this one didn't really fall within either of those categories, but I think by changing the language so that it reflects activities that the council has been doing, the observations of the council, if it doesn't rise to the level of a legislative recommendation to require or empower districts to use universal design principles, using the words that you have revised it to, I think, solves both of those issues. Awesome.
Annabelle Sanchez for the record. I just would like to ask Member Binder if the updated language that you rewrote, if you mind putting it in the chat, and that way we can view it and the whole council would be aware of the oh, I think I missed you, of what was suggested. Oh, I think you're muted.
Buttons galore. Sorry, you didn't miss me. I was toggling another screen to put that into the chat for you.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia. I also just, as we're looking at this again, we've obviously during different agenda items addressed comments related to students with disabilities, which is what the 504 plan specifically encompasses. But we really haven't had a specific agenda item that I can think of that relates to this. So I also think we need to be, I just want to be mindful that everyone really does have a chance to look at this and agree to it. As a parent with kids with 504s and IEPs, I'm very much in favor of anything we can do to make those documents and the communication related to those documents more accessible to families, and the challenges that exist with that. But since it's not arising directly from a prior agenda item that I can think of, I want to make sure everybody really does have a chance to look at that and that there's universal agreement on that. It's definitely been hinted at in conversations and comments as we've talked about the needs of families with children with disabilities and that are oftentimes different, which fits really well under this section of the report.
Annabelle Sanchez, NDE for the record, and I would like to remind the council that you are allowed to vote on adding this recommendation if you choose to in this specific section, if you would like.
Correct. If we want to pull it out individually, we can, or we can do it at the end. Not seeing an indication of anybody's preferences. It is in the chat so that everybody can hopefully review it there. If anybody wants to provide comments or edits to it, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll just include it with the vote at the end. Seeing none, let's move on to impact of family engagement on performance, attendance, and discipline. Are there any comments, suggestions, revisions? Okay,
This is
hearing it.
member,
Oops, sorry.
this
Go
is
ahead.
member Dr. Roth for the record. On the first red line item, the council recommends adding measurable indicators to evaluate family engagement outcomes such as attendance, achievement, and discipline using disaggregated data. Just some more clarity as to what does that entail in terms of, for example, discipline. What does that look like?
Annabelle, do you have comments on that? Or was this a prior suggestion submitted by Vice Chair
I
Binder?
do. I do believe it was a prior suggestion submitted earlier.
This is
Oh,
Dr. Roth for the record again. The reason I'm asking is because sometimes if it's a vague comment like adding measurable indicators and we approve it, we're not truly aware of what we're approving. And in some cases, documentation or different reporting requirements from entities like at the state level can become cumbersome or duplicate or add more to a plate that principals and administrators might already find to be full already. So I'm just inquiring in case number one, it's necessary. Number two, to seek the the connection or have the rationale for all of the different indicators as to how they're connecting to family engagement. These are just some of the questions as a member that I'm having as I'm reading that one.
Thank you, Dr. Roth. Member Binder.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Member Binder, for the record. I do agree. I really do. And so I'm wondering if we could add this to a list of potential future agenda items to maybe work out some of the knots and the bumps in the road. I know Nevada has a history with stuff like this. And so I would like us to be very intentional with that ask. And so I don't know if we want to remove it as a whole here or maybe change up the language just a tad, but I do highly recommend we have a future agenda item on it. So maybe the change would be like the council is exploring measurable indicators. Like, so again, instead of the word recommends, explore, changing out intentional words.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, I thank you, Member Binder. I agree. I think it needs and Dr. Roth, some further fleshing out with some work that's happening regarding accountability frameworks at the state level. I would recommend that we pull this and add it to kind of that future agenda item at this time, because this isn't going into a recommendation heading into a legislative session, so there's not really as much of a weight to it. We have to do it. We have to do it. I'm not absolving us, but we have time to flesh it out into a better recommendation for a future report. And that would be my suggestion, is that we just delete that bullet point, and then make a note that we want to create a future agenda item to be more intentionally looking at. Because I think what you're saying is, how do these indicators overlap with all of these items, and what's that integration? But I think we have more to flesh out before we put it in the report. Okay, I'm seeing a thumbs up. I'm not seeing any other comments, I don't think. Sorry, just trying to make sure Okay, so then we will move on to identifying effective communication and outreach for families with children who are English learners. Annabelle, do we still have quorum?
Annabelle Sanchez ND for the record. Give me 1 minute. I will double check. This is Annabelle Sanchez. Yes, we still have quorum.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you so much for doing that check for me. Okay, so we are on the English language learners. There's several additions to this. Does anyone have any comments, suggestions, revisions, or additions?
Madam Chair, Member Binder. My only comment is that as much effort as we put into multi-language holders and learners is the same effort that we should always put into universal design principles and accessibility for our disabled constituents.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, I appreciate that comment. The organization of the report is based on the NRS. I'm just thinking of where it would be appropriate to potentially make that comment, or just if that is something.
Yeah, it was just a comment from me,
Yep.
not necessarily for this section,
Yep.
but in
Nope, I think that there is that is helpful to be mindful of how are we really seeing that universally. Because one of my first thoughts for interpretation services was actually ASL. I have a kid who is an ASL interpreter. So so there are sometimes it's are we really are we narrowing too much? But that is a much bigger conversation. But something for us to be mindful of in our discussions. Are there any changes, comments, revisions on the English learner section? If not, we'll move on to determining need for state and or district family engagement coordinator. Okay, let's move on to that next section. So Rebecca Dirks Garcia, this was the new recommendation that's all the way over to the right. I'll just jump in and say why I know it's there. A similar issue with some of the language, that there was concern from the that it was too declarative, I guess maybe is a good way to put it. And so I'm wondering if we just change that to the council has discussed the need for a sustainable funding model for designated family engagement coordinator positions, because it has come up. I don't know if that meets with the Attorney General's recommendation. You have your hand raised, so I'm going to go ahead and call on you.
Yeah, Christina Jorgis Burns for the record. So this does kind of sound like it is a legislative recommendation. So if the council is intending to make that recommendation, then it can remain with that language. You may want to move it to the different section in the report that has the recommended language. But to the extent that the council is looking to recommend that there be these positions, then that can be done.
So Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you so much for that clarification. So recommendation number 1 under that section, recommendations for legislation, does already talk about the need to fund and require a parental involvement and family engagement coordinator, because this has been an ongoing and frequent topic whenever it comes up for the council. And so essentially we would just delete it from here and leave it in where it already exists, is what you're suggesting, correct? Okay,
Yes,
I'm seeing a head
Christina
nod.
Jorgis Burns
Yes.
for the record.
Yep.
Yes. So if you want to combine them, if there's any language that you'd like in the recommendation section, that's an option too. But yes, it doesn't need to be in both places.
Okay, any comments regarding that item, Member Binder?
Thank you. I also dropped some suggestive language to correct the DAG's concerns in the chat, just like I did with the other one.
Member Binder, do you want to read that out loud or would you like me to?
Okay, so I have to transition here. So if you want to, and then I have to turn my camera off, but I will be here. But yes, if you would like to read that, that would be great. Thank you so much.
So she just listed Rebecca Dirks Garcia as part of the council's work under NRS 385.628 to evaluate the necessity of family engagement coordinators. The council discussed the importance of consistency and staff retention in these roles. Members noted that districts often face challenges when positions rely on short-term or fluctuating funding sources. Ensuring long-term sustainability for family engagement functions was identified as an important area for continued examination in future council meetings. I like that revision because it captures the commentary behind that future legislative recommendation that's later on in the report. So unless anybody objects to including that or has revisions to it, I think that makes a lot of sense to include those changes. Thank you, Member Binder. Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead then on to the next section, working with the Office of Parental Involvement and Family Engagement. So just trying to give everybody a minute to digest all the different pieces. We are now on page 7, going into page 8, right? I'm in the right place. Does anybody have comments? Annabelle, do you want to, I think there's that new one down in yellow and red.
Annabelle Sanchez, ND, for the record. Yes, that was also a recommendation by Vice Chair Binder.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, she just dropped in some changed language. I don't think we need to put in carrying out the responsibilities. I think we could just say the council discussed ongoing opportunities to strengthen members noted community partnerships. This has come up several times when it comes to making sure all students. So I think that new language, which would be the council discussed ongoing opportunities to strengthen outreach to families of children with diverse learning needs. Members noted that community partnerships can play an important role in identifying emerging needs and supporting families. The council looks forward to continuing collaborating with the PIFE office in this area.
Member Binder, for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I went really formal because it came from the DAG. So I went a little overboard, but
I'm sure all the lawyers in the room are happy with the extra anytime. Sorry, Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record. Okay, so Annabelle Sanchez, are we at the end, correct?
Annabelle Sanchez, yes, this that would be the end. We're just gonna include what Member Binder mentioned in the chat. If there's no other additions or recommendations, that would be the end. And my understanding is that now you can vote on everything that has been addressed in the report and decide what the next step would be for submission.
Okay, Rebecca Dirks Garcia, I just want to give everybody one more time, if there's something after looking at this that you feel like we didn't include, didn't touch on? Are there any additional thoughts before we move to action? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the content of the 2026 legislative report, including the revisions as asked for during the council meeting today, with allowances for NDE staff to make technical corrections as needed.
Member
Is there a
Binder,
motion?
so moved.
Thank you, Member Binder. Is there a second?
Member Zamora would like to second.
Thank you, Member Zamora. Those in favor of the motion, please unmute and say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. And thank you, Annabelle, for all of your work pulling that together. And thank you for the members. I know this isn't the most exciting agenda item, but it is required. So we got it done, and I appreciate that. So we don't have to come back and look at it again before January when we then need to get it off. So thank you so much for the work on that. And to Annabelle and NDE staff and the Attorney General's office for helping us make sure that we're in compliance. So with that, we've already, we're going to move on to agenda item number 7, which is future agenda items. We've already discussed a little bit on this, and from prior conversations as well, Annabelle, Vice Chair Binder, and myself met and talked about a few items that we want to make sure we cover. So there is looking at future meeting dates in 2026 so that we can get those planned out in advance. I know today is a great example of some things still come up. So our legislative members are obviously in special session in Carson City. So the best laid plans, sometimes you get sidetracked, but I know for myself at least, and I think for a lot of people, if we can get dates calendared. So the goal is to try to look out into 2026 and not just do the next meeting, but get some additional dates calendared. And then Annabelle, you had some additional things to cover. Let me let you do that first before we go back to other items for future agenda.
Thank you so much, Chair Dirks Garcia, Annabelle Sanchez, NDE for the record. And I do want to mention that it's not just myself. It takes a village. I have my supervisor, Kathy Hoyt, with me, and she is the note taker who has been taking note of everything on the spreadsheet. We also have our new Skillbridge intern, Belina Garcia, who is assisting us and also note taking for me as well. So I do want to recognize all their efforts. And of course, you guys know that Rick is always here. And if I miss anything, he is the one who does the minutes. And with that in mind, I do. Oh, and Jackie up north, I don't want to forget you. we have very limited NDE representatives from our office of licensure up there, and he is always more than willing to stay there in case anyone ever wants to go up north. So Jackie's not lonely up there and can keep you guys company. With so many exciting efforts and initiatives, there are a few details for future agenda items that I'd like to mention. I will be reaching out to everyone to plan for future meetings in 2026. The goal is for this council to meet 3 to 4 times per year. However, we will need to establish quorum for these meetings, so I please ask that you reach out to me if there's any conflict of interest, and that way we will know should we select a different date or continue with those dates. And I also ask that if you do mark that you are able to attend a date, that you mark it in your personal calendar so that it stays in record for you to be able to attend during that time. And for fiscal year 2026, I do want to mention that fiscal year ends on June 30th, and the council does have $6,279 to be spent as a council. In a future meeting, we can discuss how to spend those funds. But for now, I would like you to gather some ideas of events that you might want to attend that might require travel costs prior to that date. And this can include attending a council meeting in person if you would like to come down here to attend a meeting in Las Vegas, or up north in Carson City with Jackie to attend a meeting in person, or other types of activities that are within the purview of the council that you would like to attend. The NDE Office for a Safe and Respectful Learning Environment will also come to complete their presentation on restorative practices and chronic absenteeism as requested by the council in the past. Ohio State University will also have their full report on the efficacy belief survey administered to educators taking the NDE approved PIVE courses. The council will also discuss what is being asked of school districts as we plan to invite schools to share their best practices for the council. So as we continue to plan these best practices that we want to have in our council meetings, it was Chair Dirks Garcia and I that had a conversation of what are we asking of the school districts. For example, I know that Member Hendricks reached out to me and had some schools that can be represented from Lyon. And the Clark County School District also has, I worked very closely with their family engagement department, and they are also interested in presenting, but we would have to know what are we asking them to present specifically. So having a future agenda item to address that would also be considered. And this concludes the list of future agenda items that I have. I'm available for any questions.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, I'm not seeing any. Oh, sorry, Dr. Roth.
Hello, this is Dr. Roth for the record. When we look at future agenda items, is this where we would put different things that we just talked about in the report? For example, is this maybe not next meeting, but is this where we would put things like look at other states' best practices?
Correct.
Thank you.
Annabelle Sanchez, NDE for the record. And yes, I am also listing what you mentioned about the out-of-state best practices into this list as well.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia. So yes, the out-of-state best practices are one of the things listed. There was another item that we talked about pulling to discuss the bullet point from the report where we talked about indicators related to family engagement. So if we can just make sure that's noted. I have two questions for you, Annabelle. One is, can you state the date again for the travel budget? Was it June 30?
Annabelle Sanchez, NDE for the record. That is correct. So June 30th is the date of the end date of the fiscal year. Of fiscal year 2026. And for that, we do have those $6,279 that are still in need of spending.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, it's always fun when there's money to spend. It doesn't always happen, right? And then my other point of clarification is because, so since I joined this council, it's been a couple of years now, one of my biggest asks has been that we get these districts to share and do best practices, and it's never happened yet. So I want to clarify that, are you saying that we need to delay to have them scheduled in order to have an agenda item regarding what our ask is? Is there not a way for us to formulate the agenda item during this action item? Because I don't want to see, we're looking at 6 months again before we maybe see anybody in front of us.
Annabelle Sanchez, ND for the record. And we don't have to address it right now. What I am thinking is that when I start hosting the office hours, I will have more exposure to other school districts. And I would like for us to meet in, sometime towards the end of winter. We're thinking February or March. And from there, decide what are we asking them to present. And that way we have an idea of what they are already bringing into these office hour meetings, which we will also discuss best practices.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia. So that would not be my preference. So I think, because if we're looking at February, typically we've been able to meet twice a year at best. I would love to see that change, but realistically for multiple years, that's been kind of the pattern. So we are looking at a year out, if that's kind of the thought based on history. And I also think that, to me, and how this has been discussed and what our charge is under the NRS, we're asking them to present on best practices. What are the successes? What are the challenges? And how do they measure those? And I'd like it to be open-ended for districts to share what they think fits in that category, so that we get kind of a breadth of report out. And I think Lyon and Clark are great to start with, because that gives us a rural district and an urban district, so that has balance. So to me, I would prefer that we don't hold that and have an agenda item on just what we're asking, because I think that is just too much of a delay when this has been years and we've never gotten it off the ground. And if we have any sort of interest in actually moving forward, I'd like to capture that, so that that's in our next time we meet, that the districts are presenting the next time we meet. I don't know what other members' feelings would be on that. Thoughts would be on that.
Annabelle Sanchez, ND for the record. Yes, I guess I misunderstood when we met, and that was the ask that would be, but we can definitely, that sounds like a great plan to me, to have them present as soon as our next meeting. Now that we know specifically that we're looking for them to share their successes and their challenges. But I do want to welcome other members to chime in, please.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to add, I think it would be great to start with Clark, especially if Annabelle is sharing that they have a good relationship with Clark. I think we can also set that precedent of like what to expect during the presentations. And, you know, I don't want to speak for the district, but I think they've done a really good job, you know, lately kind of sharing out, you know, what is working and some of the best practices they have been doing here. So I would really recommend if we can probably start with Clark and then kind of move our way through that. And that way, if we don't like what Clark presents or we want to see more, then we can just, I think, set those standards later on as we're going.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you. Members Zamora, Dr. Roth?
Yes, this is Dr. Roth for the record. Thank you for this. I support honoring the voices as soon as possible due to the scarcity of voices in the past. But I also am curious as to whether the council has a framework that is adopted. I know when we took the class, the requirement class for the state, there was a framework they used. I know in Colorado or in grad school, I've studied different frameworks where family engagement is given structure in terms of look-fors, because, and I mentioned that because if we had an adopted framework, then when districts come to present, we could give them sort of categories that they could choose from to share, because I'm looking online on different frameworks that exist right now, and one's the dual capacity building framework. There's things like that, but if we had one as a council that was our kind of foundational framework, then that can become part of invitations that we give to districts. How are you involving two-way communication? What are some of your best strategies for events that draw in for capacity building at home in terms of academics? These are things that can inform those asks that we have here on this last item. That's just some of the stuff I was thinking about.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you, Dr. Roth. Annabelle Sanchez, do you want to answer that question regarding the framework? I think I know the answer, but I'll let you give the correct one.
Annabelle Sanchez, for the record, uh, Dr. Roth, I do believe that having a framework of the council is important, and I am not sure, Rebecca, if you thought that is what I would answer. I think it does also tie into that question at the end of what we're asking of them. And the question would be for me to the council would be, when would you like to discuss the framework that would be part of the council? Would you like it as a future agenda item? Because I do foresee that that might prevent what was originally said by Chair Dirks Garcia, that we want the school districts to present as soon as possible.
So Rebecca Dirks Garcia, apologize for the confusion, and Dr. Roth, chime in on this one if I'm not getting this correctly. My understanding is Dr. Roth was asking if there is a Nevada family engagement framework. He used the word council, but I think what he's saying is, does Nevada have a family engagement framework where the districts could then do their presentation in response to or in conjunction with the Nevada family engagement framework, which we do have, correct? I don't think anything's changed.
Yes. Annabelle Sanchez, for the record, yes, it is at the beginning. I believe the first 16 pages of the family engagement guide is the framework, the Nevada's framework. And we can definitely share that with the school districts and invite them to share based on that framework.
Dr. Roth, does that answer? That's what you were thinking, right? Like, do we have a framework and we're asking them essentially to use that framework to tell us what they're doing, what's working, what maybe isn't, but using the Nevada Family Engagement Framework as the basis for how they build kind of what they share with us? Is that what you were suggesting?
That the framework would be the structure by which we have best practices shared. So exactly, it would inform districts as to a buffet of options to find best practices in their district to bring. And I'm looking at the Nevada framework right now, because I know that there are frameworks that have been used throughout the country from different things. So I'm glad to see this is already a lot of work that's been done. Good job.
Yeah, tremendous work that's been done by all the NDE, past and present. So I think that's a great suggestion, Dr. Roth, and hopefully that also answers, because I think Annabelle too, like, obviously if you go to ask people to present, they want to know what they're presenting on. So I absolutely understand why I've asked people to present and they go, but what? So I understand where that's coming from. So maybe let me see, I don't see any other comments. Let me see if I can maybe summarize it and see if this captures the different needs and discussion. So, and thank you, trustees Zamora, for recommending Clark. I would suggest that we try to see if Clark and Lyon can present on the same date, because then we see that rural, urban, and obviously too, I recognize that we hear a lot of things from Southern Nevada. I may live in Southern Nevada, but I work statewide. So I recognize that oftentimes people are very cognizant of wanting to make sure that we don't see overrepresentation from our biggest district sometimes. But that we would try to see if we can coordinate Clark and Lyon first, since they've already expressed potentially an interest in presenting to us, and have them present on family engagement best practices using the framework to kind of guide that, the Nevada Family Engagement Framework, and specifically highlighting successes, challenges, and how they measure the work within that they do based on the Nevada Family Engagement Framework. And then also, I think the office hours that you talked about, Annabelle, which I think are going to be great, could then potentially inform us on who would be able to kind of step up on board after those who've already expressed an interest. And also if there's anything we need to do to pivot at all and or capture additional feedback in presenting in how those presentations are done. Does that kind of summarize well what is needed from NDE staff in order to make these asks on our behalf, which I appreciate the effort that goes into that. There's a lot of behind the scenes that goes into getting ready for a council meeting from the NDE staff, which I appreciate, but then also what the council members are hoping to hear and see. Okay, does that seem like a plan, or hearing no objection, then I'm assuming that works. Annabelle, is there anything more? And Member Binder commented that she is happy to help any way she can. Annabelle, does that give you clear enough direction, or did I make it more muddy?
Annabelle Sanchez, NDE. No, it is perfectly clear. I have some ideas in mind, and just as a little informal joke, it seems like the next time we decide to meet, it will be more of others presenting, which is nice for me. And I look forward to working with the school districts. I'm already working with our OSERLI team and Ohio State, but working with the school districts to put into practice better use of the framework to the benefit of the council. I also look forward to the office hours because if there are persistent issues that are coming across the state, it is important to address them in the council as well. And I will make sure to note that the successes, the struggles, everything. Thank you.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you so much. Yes, I think it's going to be really helpful to hear your comments back that you gather from folks across the state who are doing the work on the ground in those office hours. So really looking forward to seeing that and hearing that. And thank you, Dr. Roth, especially for bringing in the family engagement framework, because we really probably should have thought about to do that earlier. So that just makes total sense. But that's why you have councils and committees, right? Because other people think of those great ideas. Okay, so are there any other future agenda items that folks feel like we need to cover that we didn't already discuss?
Madam Chair, this is Member Zamora. I was wondering if we can add to future agenda items, maybe steering committee updates from the steering committee that's going to be doing the summit, the Family Engagement Summit, if that's a possibility. And then I'm also thinking, you're saying there's about 2 to 3 meetings that are happening a year, and I wanted to see if there's any way we can add an agenda item to talk about maybe any possible opportunities for the council to be part of or engage in any legislative planning legislative priorities that the council can bring. But that would be something I think time pressing, because as I'm thinking about it, if we're only meeting twice a year, that would probably have to be one of the first things at the beginning of the year. And then before going into legislative session would be towards the end to kind of really discuss priorities that we might have. And then a thought for the travel budget for the council, if you all might have any type of list of national organizations that might be doing summits of family engagement, and looking into maybe virtual options for our members who have the time to participate, and maybe doing those type of conferences / trainings, growth opportunities, I think would be great. I did see some like, for example, National Family Engagement Summit, they have one in October. Well, they had one in October, right? And seeing if members are available participating and then giving us updates, in the following meeting. So those were just my thoughts.
It helps if I unmute myself when I'm talking. Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you, Member Zamora. I appreciate those suggestions, and I think those are good options to consider. Ideally, we'd like to get to the quarterly meetings. I just know based on history that it's a bit of a struggle. And so I do take your comment on the legislative issues. In theory, that's what the report is supposed to codify, is our priorities or recommendations that we just went through. But I think an expanded discussion that's not just based on the report is what you're intending, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then the steering committee for family engagement summit. And then I did forget, I had wrote a note and I forgot to bring it up again, looking at the working group that was in the report that kind of never got off the ground regarding this Board of Education's family engagement policy. So with that, oh, Dr. Roth, go ahead.
This is Dr. Roth for the record. Thank you, Member Zamora, for those ideas. I know I remember hearing the coalition in our county talking about a national summit for family and family involvement and engagement. I don't remember the name of it, but I can find that out. But you got me thinking.
Thank you, Dr. Roth. Rebecca Dirks Garcia, for the record. Yes, that is, I know some of our additional monies were used at one year to send some people to that. The other question I have, and this isn't necessarily for response, but maybe it is if this is a pretty long list. So I think that just from a commentary standpoint, the more we can respond to the survey quickly so that Annabelle doesn't have to chase us down. I'm going to freely disclose that I'm one of those she has to chase down sometimes. So I'm not speaking necessarily to you, but with you in that struggle to respond so that we can try to get dates scheduled and try to get quorum in place so that we can look at these and whether or not there is any appetite for, if we can get enough of these scheduled, do we look at a longer time frame that starts earlier in the day or something like that? I know there's a lot of challenges with that, but just something that kind of popped in my head. And if not, then we need to try. In order to cover ground, we need to have enough meetings in order to do that. And I think there's a lot of good things that we can talk and discuss about and hear presentations on so that we can make recommendations, but we need to have the meetings in order to do that. So just really appreciate everybody responding to the surveys that are sent out, and hopefully we can find some times within that. Anybody else have any suggestions regarding future agenda items? Okay. Well, we have quite the list. So we have a lot that I'm excited to hear about, and also ones that have already kind of been on the back burner that Annabelle's been working on and getting ready for us. So with that, we'll close out item number 7 and move on to agenda item number 8, which is public comment period number 2. Public comment will be taken during this agenda item on any matter within the Advisory Council for Family Engagement's jurisdiction, control, or advisory power. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item until the matter is included on an agenda as an item on which action may be taken. The council, myself, the chair, will impose a time limit of 3 minutes. Is there any public comment in Carson City?
There are no comments here in Carson City.
Thank you so much, and thank you for manning the helm in Carson in case somebody did want to come. I've actually done this meeting from Carson before. Is there any public comment in Las Vegas?
There is no current public comment here in Las Vegas.
Thank you. And Rick, is there any public comments submitted via email?
There's no public comment submitted via email.
Thank you all. Thank you all for taking the time to join and for the comments that were contributed and the suggestions for future agenda items. As I said, I'm really excited to see what happens next on those. And with no objection, I will adjourn
One
this. Sorry, go ahead.
second. Sorry, this is Annabelle Sanchez, NDE for the record. I believe we skipped one little note that member Malone is no longer able to serve on the Advisory Council for Family Engagement. She did write a message in the chat. I am not sure if she would like to unmute and say any comments before heading out. Sorry about that, Member Malone.
Oh, no worries whatsoever. Ended up being perfect timing. I jumped back on just in time. It's been an honor to serve on the Nevada Advisory Council for Family Engagement over the past few years, including the privilege of serving as co-chair. I figure I'll just read my note. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to work alongside such dedicated and passionate leaders committed to strengthening families and supporting student success across our state. Thank you so much for the collaboration, the shared vision, the meaningful work that we accomplished together. I look forward to cheering on the council's continued success from the sidelines and impact in the years ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, Co-Chair. Thank you all.
Rebecca Dirks Garcia, thank you, Member Malone. Appreciate all your contributions over the years. It has been many years that you've been on the council, so thank you for taking time out of your schedule in life to contribute to the council. That was absolutely my fault. Annabelle had put that in my notes, and I skipped it by accident, so that's on me. But appreciate your contributions, and thank you, Annabelle, for making sure that that was not missed, so that we could acknowledge all the work you've done.
Sending a virtual hug.
Yes, it was the best. Okay, did I forget anything else? Okay.
The only one that I would like to add is that we also will be having vacancies for our teacher representatives and for, we're looking into reappointments for the current members. That would be Chair Dirks Garcia, and it would be Member Brandy Johnson. And that's all I have to add. Go ahead.
Perfect. So with that, we are now on item number 9, adjournment. And with no objection, I will adjourn the meeting at 5:55 p.m. Thank you all for your time, especially at the end of a day that's probably already quite long. Appreciate you all.
Thank you. Have a great one, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Mm.